family. Welcome to the start of a new vlog series. I am actually coming to you today from my travel wall. For the past 18 years or so, I have been collecting artwork and pictures from places that I have been, and it has been quite the collection. Let me show you a few. These two were the first that I got back in 2005 when I went on a choir tour out west. I picked one up in Seattle and I picked one up in San Francisco. Love those places, and I saw some artwork on the street and I knew I had to get it, and it kind of started the trend. Before I worked in Colorado for 4 years, I actually went out there with my friends on vacation and picked up this giant picture. The frame is a little warped now, but it's one of my favorites. This is probably the oldest picture in my collection. It was in my grandfather's house for many years. It's a picture of Lake Louise up in Canada, and I went there back in 2002, and when my grandfather passed away, I got it from his house. These two are actually local Michigan destinations that I really love. The first one is of the Mackinac Bridge, and then the second one is a picture of Beaver Island, the lighthouse there that I went to back in 2020 when the pandemic was going on. I really love this artwork from Mexico. When I went for a choir tour back in 2008, I picked it up and was able to find a really nice frame for it, so it's actually in quite good shape. I actually have two pictures from the Czech Republic because I've been there twice and I loved it both times. This one is of the castle in the Czech Republic, and then this one is of the city of Prague. Probably my favorite city that I've ever been to. I actually don't have this one on the travel wall, but it is my wall scroll from when I went to China and was working there for a few months. I give this one always its own special place of honor because it was a very unique experience in my life, and I love this piece of art. And of course, my last big trip back in 2017 when I went to Europe for a few weeks, spent a week in England, probably the best week of my life, and got this amazing picture. And I also spent some time visiting relatives in Germany, and I took this picture of the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. I adored that trip, and as soon as I got back home, I was already planning my next big vacation. That trip was originally going to be to Japan to see the Olympics in 2020. I had everything booked and ready to go. I was telling people back in January and February of that year, and of course in March, everything shut down, the borders closed, I had to cancel everything, and I wasn't able to go on that trip. But now I'm very excited to say that I am ready to add to this wall again because in just a few short weeks, I am going to Japan. I've been nervous about announcing this trip to Japan for a few months because the borders did reopen in October of 2022, and I started booking flights and hotels very shortly after that. But there's always that fear, what's gonna happen? Is something gonna take place again? Am I gonna have to cancel everything? I've been very nervous, but as the weeks get closer and closer to my departure, I'm starting to tell more and more people, and I think they're getting a little annoyed. Sorry. I'm going to be going on this trip for 17 days, and I'm going to be visiting 4 major cities in Japan: Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and Hiroshima. Most of my time is going to be spent in Tokyo just because there's so many different things that I can do there, and I have learned so much about that city and just want to explore as much as possible. It is one of the largest cities in the world, so I kind of feel bad not visiting as much as possible, but I did make sure to get a JR Pass, which is the Japan Rail Pass, so that I can actually visit all over Japan with one price. That means I can visit central Japan, and then I can head out west and visit the far west part of Japan, which includes Hiroshima. I've always been very interested in learning more about Hiroshima, especially with its historical context with World War II. So I'm going to be visiting a lot of the historical places in that city, including the atomic bomb dome, several museums, and many different monuments all over the place. I really want to understand that city more and see how it has really revitalized itself following that bombing. Very near to Hiroshima is an island called Miyajima Island, and it has a very picturesque view of a torii gate that is actually in the water, and I wanted to visit there, and I decided to splurge a little bit. That's my one very expensive hotel. I'm actually staying at a traditional Japanese inn called a ryokan, and I get to stay on the island overnight where usually most visitors will come and go, so I'm very much looking forward to that night. It's near the end of my trip. The middle of my trip is going to be spent in the middle of Japan when I visit Kyoto and Osaka. These two cities are very different from each other, so I'm very intrigued to see how different they are from my 2 days that I'm going to be spending there. Kyoto is much more traditional. It was one of the old capitals of Japan, and Osaka is very much a modern version of Japan. So seeing the two differences I'm very much looking forward to. Of course, with my love of theme parks, I really wanted to make sure that I spent some time at Japan's theme parks. So I'm going to be spending one day at Universal Studios Japan, mainly to see the Super Mario World that they have there. And then I'm going to be spending 3 days at the very end of my trip visiting the Tokyo Disney Resort, which includes Tokyo Disneyland for 1 day and then Tokyo Disney Sea for 2 days. These I'm very excited to see because many people who have gone there have stated that these are the best Disney theme parks in the world, and I can't wait to see if they're right. This trip also is going to have a lot of different visits to shrines and skyscrapers and parks and so many other things. And I'm also very excited to spend a lot of time on the Shinkansen bullet trains. I've heard so many good things about them and I can't wait to experience it for myself. I already told you about one lodging that I have. I'm going to be staying in small apartment style hotels. I'm going to be staying in major hotels, and I'm also going to try a capsule hotel for the first time. It's not truly a capsule hotel, it's a little bigger than that, but I've heard so much about it. I actually had one booked for the length of the Olympics, and I'm kind of sad I wasn't able to experience that one, but I am looking forward to doing one in Kyoto, and it should be an interesting experience. I am making a list of things that I must eat while I'm in Japan. Most of it involves ramen because I did grow up in college watching Naruto and kind of got hooked on it. I've actually been making ramen every Friday to kind of get myself excited for the trip. But I am going to be including a few other snacks as well, going to different restaurants. Hopefully they're open, but I'm so excited to see the different foods that I can eat there. This vlog series might be a little different from the ones that I've done in the past. I don't know how much face-to-face vlogging I'm going to be doing outside because I am going to be doing this trip solo. And I want to make sure that I am being polite to the people around me, but I also want to make sure that I inform you of as much as possible. So you might see a few more subtitles, things maybe voiced over. I hope you understand that that's just trying to make sure that I'm being respectful of the people and the culture of Japan, but also trying to show as much as possible. I'm actually making this vlog in May, so if something goes horribly wrong or the trip ends up getting canceled in the next couple of weeks, you're never going to see this video. But if things do go well, I'm going to come back after my trip and give you a little preview of the things that I was able to see. Are you in for a treat? Take a look.